You ain't kick the door down, ain't gotta kick the whores out. Hurt a little bit, hurt them more when you walked out. Papers on the table, you want that divorce now. And not for nothing, you feel like the kid is your child, begging you to get the DV case tossed out. That'll be the day. You're in New York now, court bound, where the women run and talk loud and slam down a mallet for beating up on your spouse. Boss out, Sagittarius in the 4th house. Apparently the loft just bought, walls tore down. Lot of space between the ceilings and the floor now. Yeah, I think I'll take the tour now. Never thought that they would come. She ain't done. During the whole time she was mute, but she ain't dumb. Verbal family and love, bro. Here they come, just to see what you've become. Something fearsome that he never thought that they would come. You ain't done. He was down since day one. A1, what you supposed to do? Take crumbs while he revels in the same fun. Hello, Satan. Moral of the story, don't ever clip your options. Phone password, the only thing you should be locked in. Block out whatever doesn't want to see you proud.
Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are back to talk about pretty much part 2 of why we're depressed. So I'm going to get extensive on the causes of depression, some things that we can do to get out of them, or some experiences, some scenarios that I could put out there on, you know, things that I've done to pull myself out of certain ruts. And I guess continuing on how being a Pisces allows me or enables me to look at things subconsciously, to pretty much assess the information that I'm seeing in a way that's like imagery, hinting to prompting and cueing, and things that involve a storyline that involves more depth, I guess you can say, than the average surface material of what you see is what you get type thing. So pretty much like the storylines that I was expressing in part 1 of the video, for those that you have watched it. But first, before we get into that, I want to salute the people who are in the comment section that are actually helping people who feel like they want to commit suicide. I commend you on that. It's not a simple task. Some of you are just, well, really want to, let me shout you out by name because I think that's that huge. Olympia, kudos to you for just jumping in there and, you know, getting in the comment section and doing what you do. For anyone else, like you don't even have to ask permission. If you see that and that's something that you want to address and you want to help someone, I think that's beautiful. Go right ahead. I don't have no issue with that. You know what I'm saying? From what I've seen, and I've just browsed the comments. I haven't gotten the comment section yet. I just browsed them real quickly. From what I'm seeing, like the suicide hotline doesn't even work for the people who have used it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying to anybody watching this to not try it if that crosses your mind. However, you know, this may just be another outlet, another form of assisting people in not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I see progress so far. I'm gathering that it's what I'm seeing. Again, I just glanced at it. I'm not 100% sure, but kudos to you, man. You know, kudos to everyone else who addressed that and got into that. So I'm going to begin by, Khalil asked a question in another video about, is the second house our moon signs? And I think that's kind of important to bring to this video because kind of touched on, you know, how the mind is important, you know, security in the first video, you know what I'm saying? And the moon rules over Cancer, which rules over security. But to answer this question, so I want to capitalize on what the moon does in contrast to what the sun does, and how the sun, I spoke about how fire signs and fire energy kind of has people depressed now because of the aggression that's involved, right? So the moon actually is a yes and no to answer this question. The moon in the natural scheme of things has resonance in our second house because the moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is the second house in the natural scheme of things in astrology: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, so on and so forth. So when the moon gets to everyone's second house, you can feel this type of energy that's in the air that feels more like it's supposed to be personal to you. And but the sign that's there, like whoever, and you know, whatever your natal chart is, you know, your second house might not be Taurus. So the sign will actually color your second house differently than Taurus being there. However, like I mentioned in the you know, how to stay grounded video, the functions of the second house will take over regardless. So you can feel and see how the moon will have some type of significance to your second house. So again, no matter what sign you are, what your natal chart is, your second house is going to be your personal place of, personal attachments, materialistic attitudes, spending habits, and stuff like that. So it's a very personal place regardless of what sign is there. So the moon has strong significance of your personal place because it's your personal mind, how you govern your own mind. You know what I mean? So and also in numerology, the moon is numbered to number 2, right? The sun is first, the moon is number 2. So you can see how that aligns perfectly with the second house as well. So, that's the answer to that question. If you want to go into depth and the detail about that, I would recommend to look at whatever sign is in your second house natally, what sign is your second house in the everyday scheme of things, as well as the solar chart. So if you're a Pisces, your second house is Aries, like we discussed in the how to stay grounded video. So, just think about what moon in Aries would be and try to master moon in Aries until you get to the point of you can feel like the moon is actually exalted in Aries. That's more of a challenge than Taurus, of course. But, the more studying, the more practice that you get with this, the more you'll be able to see how that can resonate with your second house placement. So moving right on along from that, that's kind of a good way to set up what we're going into now, which is, about the aggression that I spoke about in the first video of how things have us depressed, right? So it's like, this person has a name. I'm going to say your name. Heaven Sent said, I don't see it as depression. I see it as that you have not met anyone who understands that level of spirituality that you have reached already. You have to roll alone. You have to be alone because you have not found like-minded people. Truly gets it. So you do get it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I voice that, but at the same time, that can be, I guess you're right. It's not really depression, but we can get under the impression that those types of things, those types of realities, those types of findings are depressive or depressing. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're more along the lines of, I wrote it down in my notebook too. We're more along the lines of, we're more than likely free from the sun's aggression than we are depressed, is what I wrote. And what I mean by that is, like I said in the first video, sometimes we could be chilling and we feel like we're supposed to be doing something. We're still supposed to be active. We're still supposed to be aggressively working at something, and that might be furthest from the truth. We can have this sense of security that we've done everything that we're supposed to do for the day. We might have even done enough work to last a week, a month, and we're none the wiser because we're so conditioned, or movement, constant activity has been advertised to us so much, and we've been influenced by it because it's around us by so many people, or participating in that activity, that constant action, that it almost makes us feel like we're supposed to be doing it too. And some people can get guilt trips from it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I do feel that way. That is what I feel. You know what I'm saying? But in order for me to tap into what other people are feeling when they're saying they're depressed, I empathize a bit, well, a lot, to be real with you. And I say, okay, well, I see how this can be. So here goes a few stories of mine so you can understand where my little ruts of sadness come from. And, it's from not being able to connect with people who might be immediately right next to me. You know what I'm saying? Which sets me up for talking about what Araya Moon spoke about. I believe, if I butchered your name, pardon me, all right? But she brought up, understand why you curbed the first few women, but still trying to understand why you didn't go for the woman with the heavy bags. That's a great mention. And, for those who are just watching or just tuning in and you didn't see part one, in part one, I spoke about, a scenario of events that took place where I found myself being invited to interact with women, and I was just like refusing them and turning them down because I felt like I was deserving of something more. I felt like it was staged and I didn't want to participate. So I came across this last woman, and, I was really digging her. Like, that was my preference, so to speak. And I didn't go for her either. Now, one thing about this, right, with this scenario here is, when I looked at her, I analyzed it and I said, you know what? She's probably a go-getter chick. You know what I'm saying? Because she got out of a very nice car. Now, she was well put together too, well groomed, beautiful, just gorgeous. Really, I prefer that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and despite the bags being heavy and her having 2 children, I looked at myself like, okay, if you put yourself in this type of situation, that's saying something to this woman. And one of those things might set you up to be a potential babysitter. And I don't even say this jokingly. I mean this for real. I've observed it, and I've been in situations to where women see an educated man, they see a man who's kind of balanced at that, you know what I'm saying, who has some type of street savvy and book savvy, and you know, they love that type of mentality for their children, to be around their children, right? And I'm not against helping and assisting women with their children, even if they're not mine and stuff like that, right? This is what I've learned, though, through my own experiences of life, is that when women, and men included, leave the family unit for deals and, you know, contracts outside of family, which is corporate, which is independent contracting, which is whatever type of deals that you get into that generate revenue for you, then the family unit, to me, from my perspective, should be utilized in that same type of way. So what I'm saying is, if you want me involved with your children and you like that, then this is going to be a corporate deal. It's going to be a corporate setup. And I don't, you know, I understand that some of you might be like, well, that's no way to live life. Like, come on. But listen, this is what I'm saying, right? Like, you can get in a situation with someone else, their children involved and everything, and you don't have no rules established, and the next thing you know, you're helping this woman upstairs with the bags, you're putting them up in the cabinets, you know, y'all might hit it off, she might give you some just because of, you know, you being that kind. And you know, women are smart too. And I'm not saying that this woman is even totally weak. That could have been her marketing ploy to get me there. You know what I'm saying? And just like, oh yeah, come on, make it comfortable, fluff your pillows, you know, treat you nice, you know what I mean? And then you're just like, okay, well, wait a minute here while I go see my sugar daddy and jump in that very, very nice car, go get some money for us, bring it back, and be like, what you want, daddy? You know what I mean? And trust me when I tell you, I'm no stranger to that either. I'll be accepting to that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, go get that. You know what I'm saying? And but you got to understand, when this is not established, to me, from my experiences, when this is not established on paperwork as some type of corporate situation to set up, then I don't want to touch it. Because I'm not that type of dude that you're going to be like, you know, get out one day. And then it's like, oh, get out. After all I did around here, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you don't have no jurisdiction, no true jurisdiction in that type of setup. I don't put myself in those types of situations anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it could be that I was just lusting her. It could be that I just wanted some because I liked her like that. You know what I'm saying? However, I know how the whole package deal thing goes. You know what I'm saying? I know how sometimes you can't help but the significant other's children to fall in love with you and just be ecstatic every time they see you and you rub off on them, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I'll put your kids to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of dude I am. I'm like a drill sergeant sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Well, often, really. You know what I'm saying? I'll put your kids to work. And you might be like, oh, that's harsh. It's harsh. How many children are being lost to the street because they don't have something constructive to do? You can't really tell me about harsh conditions is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So that's why I approach situations like that. I know you're probably like, oh, man, you just really blew that up. Like, I was just saying, you know what I'm saying? But no, I understand. And I'm telling you, like, how serious of a dude that I can be, like, and empathize with a woman's perspective as well. Like, oh, you coming in here to do X, Y, and Z? Like, that could be looked at as, you know, looking to be her third kid. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. And again, trust me when I tell you, I already see her as the type that's a go-getter, because I look at it like, you know, I'm no stranger to being the type of person that doesn't mind a woman taking care of me, like catering to me and stuff like that. Like, I don't mind that. You could say whatever you want about me. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, when I see scenarios set up in that way, I determine, and it might be an assumption, it might be that the woman has did away with the potential man that could have been there, like the other type of man would be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're a family, pray together, stay together, and X, Y, and Z. I think she passed that level. With a car like that, I think she passed that level. You know what I'm saying? Groomed like that, I think she passed that level. Carrying the bags and not having a man to do, I think she passed that level. You know what I'm saying? I think she's at the level where she obtained her power. She made her deals, made her contracts, and said, I don't necessarily need the headache of a man, because that's what some women see it as. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know you my kid's father and all that, but I'm not really digging you like that. You know what I'm saying? They might have made, you know, they might have, and this is real stuff, they might have got better opportunities outside of being a unit, a family unit, or still being with their kid's father, or being with their man in a household or whatever. They might have gotten further in the economy. They might have gotten further in life, positioning and careers and stuff like that. Trust me, I know this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So come to find out, like, that's the second time that I seen her. So I thought to myself, like, you know what? If this is something that it is supposed to transpire, I'll see her again. You know what I'm saying? It's my second time seeing her. I'll see her again. She gave me mad eye contact the first time too. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen her the second time, it automatically registered and clicked in my head, like, yo, that's shorty from before that I was just coming through, and I caught her looking at me. You know what I'm saying? So now I seen her again. I'm like, okay. And you know, the more that I see her, the more I'll get comfortable with her. I want to learn her is pretty much what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the aggressive type that actually distorts or messes up her life. And this is exactly what we're talking about, like that whole fire energy being so aggressive that it messes up the mental state of another. So I say it like this, like a man's penis, right? Penis is going to be involved ultimately, right? But a man's penis could be three things to a woman. It could be a needle, it could be a missile, it could be a space rocket. You know what I'm saying? And you think about why I said that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to detail that during this video, but let me see what else we got going on here. So now I want to talk about a few stories that happened in the same conference that deals with, you know, checking the boxes, the stereotypes that's involved with that, and how they made me think, you know, they could have put me in depressive states, but ultimately the bigger picture is what really made me sad. So let me begin by stating, first let me start with this, right? There was, okay, we had the same conference, right? And remind you, let me just refresh your memory just in case you might have lost track. Okay, so I met this black woman. Well, first, right, to be real with you, I'm not sure if they was Puerto Rican, but I met the Hispanic women first. They invited me, you know, come have some fun, come up to the hotel room and this and the third. I turned that down, right? Boom. So then I meet the black woman, highly educated woman. And all of them are educated, by the way. This black woman, highly educated, articulated, say very well. And not saying that I was attracted to her sexually like that. However, she did have some potential. You know what I'm saying? And had it supposed to go down, like, we gotta make it happen, like it could have happened. It's pretty much what I'm saying, right? But I turned that down. You know what I'm saying? We had mad fun together and everything, but I turned that down. And not saying that she even said, oh, why don't you bang me or whatever the case may be, right? But I turned it down. I didn't make that type of move. But this is something that I left out. She was taken, you know what I'm saying? So I want that to make that a factor right now in these stories that I'm about to tell. So she was taken or whatever the case may be, but I'm telling you, I'm not being cocky, I'm telling you, if it was supposed to go down, it still could have went down. So now we get into a smaller arena in the conference, right? And then I was supposed to have a meeting with another African-American woman. She was black, right? And we were supposed to discuss business, and we were supposed to do this over breakfast. So I get to the breakfast early. I'm punctual, right? I get there beforehand. And I'm waiting for this woman to come meet with me, and she's late. So my mind computes, right? Because there's already been synapses been firing already about all of this, the way that I map things out and view things. So I'm already looking at the whole check in the box thing. Like, I keep meeting up with the ethnicity that I check the box with, but it's almost like showing me things. So like the first black woman, she was married, right? And I'm thinking like, okay, the universe is talking to me like, bro, you want to get married, don't you? Like, look at her life, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, no, I don't, because I'm thinking about her husband the entire time. Like, you know, how would he feel if he knew how much fun we're having right now, type thing. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not even going to get into detail about that, but just think about that for a minute, right? So then, boom. you know, I met this Hispanic woman. We could have done all types of wild things if you think about it, right? But, you know, they weren't taken. But, you know, that was just the universe talking to me again. Like, yo, look, you can have fun. It's fun what you want. You don't want to be married. I mean, we're trying to show you a way that you can be married, but you turn that down, or you turn the opportunity down to practice infidelity with her. So, okay, what do you want then? So when I get to this breakfast, I see the woman that I want. She's an Asian woman, right? Again, highly educated, just a bubbly chick. You know what I'm saying? And but when I see her, she's talking to another guy, and she's talking to this other guy like, you know how you can look at someone and you can be like, yo, they're into each other. Like, there's some type of chemistry there. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I guess you could say a part of me was envious, because I'm like, oh, man, wow. Like, I wanted to speak with her, but she was just so caught up with dude that there was no time for any of that. Like, she was locked in. Like, she didn't even see things that were around her circumference. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know the dude. Cool dude. But see, this is how my mind works about the whole boxes being checked and stuff like that, right? Again, she's Asian, and he is a manager in Walmart. He's African American. He's a manager in Walmart, right? So I've studied Walmart in college a few times. You know what I'm saying? The ins and outs. I know a lot about Walmart. One thing I definitely know is how they establish an MNC out in Asia to get a lot of those products manufactured with very cheap labor and getting it back to the States. And that's why they were able to undercut all of the mom and pop stores' prices and become the conglomerate that they are now. It's kind of dwindling now, but that's for reasons that totally needs a different video, if that's even to be spoken about. But my point is, they became huge over this, right? So now, mind you, this guy, he's taken, right? The woman, I don't believe she was. She didn't have no ring on or nothing like that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, these two are hitting it off because they have a company that has a USA company that has contracted with where she is from. She's truly from there, where she is from, and they're huge. And this guy just happens to be hired by that corporation. You understand what I'm saying? And these are the boxes that they checked. And this is why they are sitting in front of each other, and it's not me. You know what I'm saying? So this has me thinking about myself, like questioning myself. Now, I guess at this point, you're probably like, oh, you probably felt insecure or something, right? So for a moment, I'm thinking about myself like possibly inadequate. But I think a Virgo moon protects me a lot from I wasn't actually sad. I was just thinking about it like, you know what? They're probably hitting it off because of those factors that I just mentioned. And I know you might be like, you're looking too deep into it, but just think about what I'm saying and all of the whole checkbox logic and how that has a lot to do with how we end up in these places interacting with each other. So now the universe is talking to me. I feel like, look, that's what you want, right? Finally show you the girl that you want. And now look at her. She's interacting with another man. Now, how do you feel? The other man is married. You want to get married now? So there's always this coercion to get married. Always with me. I'm a number 22. Marriage is associated to number 23. We get to that another time, whatever the case may be. But I always have this future-oriented mindset that states, okay, you get married, then it seals the deal. You have no more mission because you're dedicated to your wife now. You have to cater to your wife. You work for your wife now. You know what I'm saying? I've done business with married people. I know how it goes a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying? So universe speaking to me now, look, the one you want is talking to a married guy. You probably get the one you want if you was married type thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm computing all of this information. So I'm just like, all right, whatever happens, it happens. So I'm waiting for this black woman so we can sit down and have our meeting, and she's late. And then now more stereotypes from the check boxes and the ethnic segregated boxes that we're put in comes into mind, where they always say black people always late, right? So I'm sitting there with my home fries and my breakfast and everything, and I'm just like, oh man, she doesn't call me or anything. So I text her, I call her, I say, what's going on, what's up, or whatever the case may be. She came, but she came so late that the breakfast was over and everything. We had to go do something else or whatever the case may be, or go move on through the conference or whatever. So I'm like, all right. So now, mind you, this black woman, she's highly educated too, and not that education means everything, but it's just like, these are powerful women that I'm meeting is pretty much what I'm stating. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's like the universe is talking to me, because for one moment when she was late, I felt like I was supposed to be the token black guy in that instance. And what I mean by that, and hear me out, what I mean by that is I was supposed to be the angry black man that just went all crazy on her, like, yo, bitch, what the fuck, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And just went off on her because I have no composure, or, you know, because of the boxes that are checked. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part is another part that seeps into the sadness. You know what I'm saying? It seeps into the sadness because it's like this stereotypical stuff that I'm aligned with is some of it comes from when my desires are not being met. And everyone who has desires, you know, you want to accomplish those desires, you want to experience those desires, but it's like in some instances, if you don't practice enough aggression, you won't experience those desires. Or if you don't have X, Y, and Z, you won't experience those desires. So I looked at myself as thankful for the Virgo moon. I assessed it. So the Virgo moon is like, you think about how you feel, you ask yourself how you feel. So it's just like, am I upset? Am I mad? Well, it's probably not that deep. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at it as like, okay, here this independent contractor comes into this conference meeting with a bunch of people who are hired by corporations. So again, in the check boxes of things, right? They say, well, what's your annual salary? These people that I'm talking about are probably checking a box that states anywhere between, I don't know, 25 and 75K, let's say, a year, right? And mind you, when you first fill out your W-2 form, you get hired and everything, you're automatically allocated into the census as a person who makes that much money a year. So as soon as you get the job, it's like, oh, okay, you work $50,000 a year. Me, on the other hand, I got a savings account with a few $1,000s in it, right? And I'm an independent contractor, so I don't get an hourly wage. They don't allocate me in the census as someone who gets paid whatever I get paid at the end of the year. With me, you got to actually wait until the end of the year to know how much I get a year. You know what I'm saying? I don't get an hourly wage. I contract independently with people, and this is just uncertain of when I'm going to get another job or how much it's going to pay and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the part that does not discourage me. It doesn't make me sad. What makes me sad is that I'm not interacting at the level that I think is adequate enough to be able to interact with these people because they are in those checked boxes. They are in those tax brackets. You understand what I'm saying? So, and to go even further, right? I had another experience where, to capitalize off of that thought, right? I had another experience where, with this whole independent contractor, me being, now, mind you, this is a fact, right? This is a statistic fact. This is even another reason why that actual factor doesn't make me sad. 69% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings account, right? So that's a fact. So that's 69% of us. So I'm going to see this girl, right? And before I got there, she explained to me that she got a new job and everything, you know, and I'm happy for her. I'm honest to God. I'm happy for her, but I'm still going to see her. I got to talk to her about something face to face. So mind you, I got a few thousand in my savings account. I'm doing all right for myself. To me, you know what I'm saying? I don't make 50 grand a year. They don't have me allocated as 50 grand a year, but I'm cooling. You know what I'm saying? I go see her. Now, as soon as I walk in the door, I say about 2 minutes later, her boss calls her. She gets on the phone with the boss, and they're arguing over her wage. Now, she was making about maybe $15 an hour, I believe, right? She's arguing back and forth with the boss. They're now telling her that she's only making $12.50 an hour. So she's arguing them down like, look, I just looked in the back office online on the computer, and it said that I made $15 for the past week. Now you telling me I'm making $12.50? They telling her some error was in the computer, or just over a few days ago they changed it. But me, this is how I see things. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. I see things as me walking into her apartment lowered her status. Because you ever heard that? Like before that, I seen a meme floating around online that says, you know, I got to be careful of letting these bums come into my house because they'll lower my real estate value based upon how much they're worth. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm not bent out of shape behind this because I know statistics like 69% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their bank account. So I'm already richer than 69% of Americans, right? But I'm looking at this like, oh, maybe this is a true thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that it pertains to actual real estate, but as a wage worker, she $15 an hour, she's allocated in the census as making such and such and such $1,000 per annum. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I walk in the door, they talking about she's only making $1,250 now. So I'm looking at the synchronicities. I'm looking at the subtleties of this. Like, oh wow, they probably, like, if someone could teleport and be in the room and have an invisible cloak on, they might be there observing that. Like, oh, she got help. Oh, look, there's a man in the apartment. Drop her wage. You know what I'm saying? She got help now. Oh, you want to have people come over your apartment? You can't have nobody come over here. Like, we own you type. This is how I think. You know what I'm saying? Like, the corporation owns her, so she can't have company unless that company is making $17 an hour. You understand what I'm saying? Because these are the boxes that are checked that makes people compatible in the macroeconomic scheme. And this is also the thing that coerces marriage a lot of the times, right? You see all of this talk about power couples, like we saw an influx in the advertising of black love, right? Black marriages. Oh, it's great now to be black marriages and you know, black family units and stuff like that, when they were desecrated, when we were desecrated. See, it's even challenging for me to talk sometimes because now I know I'm all these different heritages, right? But those families were desecrated. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them, not all of them. You know, some persevered and everything, and that's great. And I'm not saying that black love is bad or that black family units staying together is bad. I'm saying look at how it's advertised, and if we're looking at a hierarchical structure, how many of people you think are going to try that are actually going to reach that hierarchical power couple status? You understand what I'm talking about? And to reach that status, what do they have as a commonality? It's money, right? Not only that, but it's how much do you make a year type salary type wage earning type money like that, whatever the case may be. Not in all cases, but it's definitely money is the factor that unites them and puts them on that pedestal. You know what I'm saying? So I'm careful of these observations when I'm making decisions and stuff, and it all goes to the economy. You know what I'm saying? It all goes back to the economy. So that's when I talk about the aggression of sales, of how to hold on to your money. It's because when you don't hold on to your money, you give away your personal power, which allows a hierarchical system to be standing at such a powerful stance. Because if 69% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings account, of course, everybody that has something is going to look like gods to them. And this is not for everybody that doesn't really have a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yo, look at who you're influenced by. And you might be like, yeah, you know, there's some people out there that be like, oh, no, you know, don't hate on these people. They're financially successful, and that, you know, that could be encouraging to another to do X, Y, and Z. But it's like, yo, when you know what I know about astrology, like I mentioned before, some people, it's just not for you to go about living your life the way that you observe another live theirs. You know what I'm saying? They got theirs the way they got theirs. Just saying that you're supposed to get yours the way that you get yours. So, you know, again, the aggression of sales and everything I told you, you know, tone it down if people are aggressively marketing you to stuff like that, because it's going to all come down to you. You're not going to be a victim, especially when you know this knowledge already. You can't buy yourself into a depressive situation. So one thing to get you out of the rut is to make a list of assets on one side and liabilities on the other. And if you don't have actual assets, just put revenue or earned income on the asset list, and then liabilities, right? And your liabilities will be your bills. Your liabilities will be your habits that you continuously pay for, whether it's weekly, monthly, yearly. And ask yourself, what can you cross off of your liability list? And like really truly think about it. What is it that on that list that you can live without? Because you'll free up a lot of money, and you'll free up the anxiety, or should I say the pressure, not even the anxiety, because we're talking about depression here, right? But you'll relieve some of the tension, the stress, and the pressure off of wanting to work so hard, or feeling inadequate when you don't work hard enough, or you're not paid enough. Because in the bigger scheme of things, like if you allow bureaucrats to look at it, they're going to say, well, you take on too much. You know what I'm saying? They'll say either you take on too much, You should live with your mom or live with your family until you have enough to live on your own. Stop balling on your budget, live within your means. All of these things will be thrown at you to where you'd be like, oh, don't insult me. But in all actuality, have you considered that to yourself? You know what I'm saying? It's all going to come down to you. So it would behoove one to look at how things are aggressively marketed to you and how people socially identify with products and services and stuff like that. A lot of the times people live vicariously through what's on the pedestal. You know what I'm saying? Through entertainers, through sports legends, through, et cetera, the list goes on. You live vicariously through them, and then the next thing you know, you're saving up for an item that you've seen them have or that they utilize. And how much does it pertain to you and your family situation or your life situation? You know what I'm saying? Personally, right? So, and I say that with great intent because the market is inflated right now. A lot of the market is inflated, should I say. And you got to understand when people are aggressively trying to make these sales, it's because a lot of the times they know that they're under pressure the same way that you're under pressure to maybe find a second job because you want to keep up with the Jones or you want to keep this bill going. You have to have your Netflix. You just can't cross that off of your liability list. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they're in the same boat that you're in. And then there's another group of people who are more content because they're content with what they have. They're living in the moment, however, preparing for the future. And they've taken the pressure and the tension and the stress off of their mind and everyday activities. So, even going back to the whole moon analogy in the second house, people are not getting enough sleep. So if you find yourself in situations where you're not sleeping enough, you're constantly active. That's because your ego is inflated with the economy and you're just putting yourself out there so much because you're so attached to what is visible. You're so attached to the waking state, which you're conscious of, but your subconscious mind rules the predominance of your brain. So you really need more sleep so you can get the 12 house glimpses, the subconscious glimpses into hints that will assist you when you do awake and come into the conscious state where everything is tangible. You'll have a upper hand on people. You'll have an upper hand on just on yourself, really. You know what I'm saying? It's not even about having an upper hand on everybody else, but keep this in mind. The merchants, they know that you're getting money. A lot of them know when you're getting money. All of a sudden, like, there's no coincidences. All of a sudden, this person's calling you, that person's calling you, see this email, you see that email, and you're just like, yo, everything that I was thinking about buying is all of a sudden here when I got my check. It's like in front of my face. You know what I'm saying? So be aware of that. Be conscious of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I smile when I know that I've been marketed to and I didn't purchase it. Now, sometimes, don't get me wrong, I see some great things that are marketed to me and I'm like, nice try. Like, I want that and I'm probably going to get it. Not now, though. You know what I'm saying? I pull a Rihanna, I still got my money. I look at my money, I be like, all right, it's still there. I'm doing okay. You know what I'm saying? That's personal power. So the more you give away your personal power, which is your personal money, the more it's given to an entity that thrives off of being aggressive. Because the more they could just think about it, someone who is aggressive, they accumulate wealth, they accumulate assets, they accumulate liabilities, right? To the cars, to the insurances, to the everything. So they got to keep up with that. So they must stay active and they must drive the engine that actually got them sales to get that money. It has to be a continuous thing. They can't really take no time outs. Now, some people are successful to the point where their profits exceed their liabilities to a point where they live great, comfortable lives. But other people, not so. In some situations, you may not even be aware of how their financial situation is really set up anyway. How much is, the debt to equity ratio and stuff like that. I don't want to sound all nerdy and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to put you on the game of how, your depression may be someone else's happiness and the encouraging of them being a psychopath, because it's like the more that they get away with this inflated economy, the more that their ego becomes inflated and it becomes unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? Health is always going to be the number one marker to balance this out for you. You know what I'm saying? But when you with depression, it's like, look, the mind state is taking on too much. It's taking on too much. So you have to dice things down. You have to cut the fat. You have to cut things down to where you're not in the same position that your marketers and your sellers are. You know what I'm saying? Now think about this, right? All this aggressive marketing, this is another fact. When companies, especially the big companies, when they're doing these marketing schemes and having conferences and meetings about marketing, they don't hire marketers. They hire psychologists. So the psychologists come in and they conjure up the marketing scheme for the consumers because they studied the mind for year after year after year after year. This is what they do. They know the mind, the in and outs of the mind like no one else. So everything that's being presented to you is a play on your mind from the jump, from the giddy up. They know how to place their blues and their greens and their yellows together. It's in my hat, right? To do what it is that they need to do to influence you. So you probably think I'm doing it to you right now, right? I'm saying though, this is real stuff. You know what I'm saying? So even though you might be looking for a brand to look and taste like something, a lot of these companies don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about that. So it's not going to be a slander video, but it's important that you get out of depression. Depression can also come from the things that you consume. So if the FDA, for example, right, is letting poison slide through your foods into the supermarkets, just imagine, you know what I'm saying? Just imagine how that affects your mind state, how that affects your mental. You know what I'm saying? That can put you in a depressive state before anything else does, your diet. You know what I'm saying? So they also must have some type of kickbacks from these companies, right? Why else would they allow them to poison their own citizens? It's just mind-boggling when you think about it. But then again, it's not, because when you see the flip side of it and who would have a type of advantage over you should those things be allowed to take place, then you'll understand. So this brings me to this is my last story, right? During the same conference, I used a particular debit card because I'm going through things. I just did a huge study on internet fraud and stuff like that. So that's why I want to bring this up. This is what has me depressed. Or I guess you could say concerned. I'm not even depressed no more, especially after what's her name made that statement. Because again, I don't think it's depression that, like she said, is I need to align with my crew. You know what I'm saying? With who is who. So I go down there. I'll use a particular debit card, right? Check in, check out, order food from places X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. So I get back months later. Telemarketers call my house. I answer the phone. I talk to them. I used to be in market research. You know what I'm saying? So for whatever reason, something just told me to talk to these people. I'm talking to them, and they're offering me a package to take a trip somewhere. They're offering me the package as a vacation. I don't like vacations because I feel like if I can't vacation in New York, I don't need to be in any other city or state vacationing. You know what I'm saying? If the waters ain't blue out here, that's just too bad. You know what I'm saying? Until the waters get blue out here, I'm not vacationing in your state. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty harsh, right? I need to lighten up a bit. No. So, you know, I'm on the phone with these people, and I'm telling you, the market is inflated. So they're giving me this price, and I'm like, wow. I'm telling myself, like, this is a great price for what they're offering me. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm looking into building and creating film and, you know, doing some things in film and stuff anyway. So this is where my mind is. It's not about taking vacation. So I'm telling her to, you know, tell me more. But I refuse to take the offer. I'm like, nah. They're like, why not? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. They bring it down like $300. That's steep. That's a big jump. So I'm like, yo, I really got these people. Like, I'm going to see how far they'll go. Yo, they brought it down so little. The vacation was like at least a week. And it wasn't even $1,000 no more. Like, I'm like, yo, the market is inflated. They're aggressively marketing to me, though. You understand what I'm saying? Because they need sales. I'm not even going to put this city state. I'm not going to put this city state on blast either. Because there are some great things, you know, I'm not going to put them on blast. But so they're aggressively marketing to me, and I'm like, no. But had her on the phone for mad long. So then I hear it click, and it's like, hold on, talk to my manager or something like that. So this dude gets on the phone now, right? And he's like, why you not taking the package, man? Why you not taking the package? Like a thug. Sounded like he a thug, right? So I'm like, who this? And he like, I'm her manager. But I'm saying, why you not taking the package, bro? I said, because I don't want it. Because I said, no, I told her that. I'm telling you the same thing. I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what, you can't afford it? You can't afford it? Huh? Benjamin Bugs? That's your company name, right? Entertainment? And I'm like, yo, bro, so what are you saying? He's like, you in Brooklyn, New York? I'm like, so, yo, what are you saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you really saying? And he like, nah, I'm just saying, if you wanted the package, just if you can't afford the package, just say you can't pay for it. Not that you don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, the account that I used this debit card on at this moment in time probably had like $30-something in it or something. You know what I'm saying? So I started putting 2 and 2 together. I'm piecing all the stuff together. And I'm like, yo, because I'm telling myself in the back of my mind, how does my enemy, because that's who this is. You know what I'm saying? These dudes deal with resort travel and stuff like that. So they deal with entertainers and stuff all of the time. That's why they called me. You know what I'm saying? They have a call list of people who are in the entertainment, because I was at a real high functioning place where entertainers and all that stuff go. You know what I'm saying? So I already know. Plus, I used to work in market research. I know how this goes. So this is why he's calling me. So he's telling me, oh, you know, just say you didn't have it. Just say you can't afford it. And I'm like, yo, mind your business. You don't know what I can afford and what I can't afford. So the moral of the story is this dude had my information, first of all, from the purchases that I made down there. He got it from through those people, through those agencies, through those institutions, through those businesses. You know what I'm saying? They gave him my information. So you got to be careful and cautious about how you use the internet, how you utilize your banks, which banks you use, the terms and conditions with these banks and everything. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say this. The thing that saddens me now is this government is not prepared for what is happening when it comes to the internet, like at all. And if they are, they're ignoring, this is what's happening. They're ignoring the soft spots. This is a fact too. If you go look it up, black market and internet fraud is like the top of the top when it comes to crime and things stealing from Americans and intellectual property. So it's pretty much black market theft. You know what I'm saying? And these guys are actually, I'm even caught up in something right now. I can't even say caught up. I'm handling it very well to where these people are, you know, criminals. You know what I'm saying? I'm no cop. You know what I'm saying? However, I'm educated and I run a business, and I don't like people I won't let people just take stuff from me. I don't like people trying to take stuff from me. You know what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, whatever I study, I had somewhat happened to go through in life as well while I'm studying it. So now I'm in the process of tracking down crooks who are trying to take money from me. And, you know, I'm in the process, I've become a hacker. Like, I've become knowledgeable on how to do certain stuff and move stuff around and do stuff with computers and stuff that, you know, it could turn me into an animal. It could turn me into the worst person, because now I get to see how these dudes are really like, or chicks, who knows, are really like taking advantage of people in the United States. And I say that with emphasis because when I track these people down, it sad me to see what country they come from. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, because I studied it in school, and it actually said that this is a cesspool over here, and it actually started here. And then for me to go face this in real life and see that it's actually true, it's pretty sad. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, what some of them do, a lot of them do, is they'll front like they're in New York. And I really don't like that. You know what I'm saying? But when you know some tips and techniques, you could go do further tricks and you can find out where they really are. And I found out where they really are. You know what I'm saying? They're using New York as a front. They're fronting like in New York. They're not in New York. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's sad, because if you're not knowledgeable, and this is how it is right now, like it's really all man, every man for themselves, in a so to speak. Knowledge is really power right now, because the government is not saving you, yo. Your government is not caring. Your government, like, corporations are caring before the government is. And it might just be bureaucrats, right? Your government might care, but they might care for more established corporations in the U.S. or, you know, people who mean more to them. But if you're like the average Joe who's just a consumer and you're going to buy a cell phone and you're just like, you know, people are robbing you for all types of stuff, and you start getting those emails. Yo, they are getting so savvy now. There's something called pay advance scheme, right? But not only that, let's talk about this one. What's the term they use again? Oh man, I'm gonna try to get it in the comment box. But this is what they do basically. They'll call you and kind of like extort you for protection for being attacked, when in all actuality they're the ones who are attacking you. They've gotten so bold that they'll call you and say, if it's not done by email, they'll call you. They'll really call you and say, excuse me, did you make a purchase on for something on this so-and-so date? And you'll be like, well, no. And he'll be like, oh, okay, well, this is the fraud detection center. We're just calling to make sure. And you're like, you might be tricked. Like, oh, well, thank you. No, I didn't make that purchase. Can you swipe that off? And sure, no problem. We just wanted to check with you to make sure that you didn't do it. We will wipe it off the record and refund you the money, whatever the case may be. And it's like, what they did was they took some type of money out of your account with that so-called purchase. You know what I'm saying? So now you got to actually call up your bank or go to your bank, whatever the case may be. And you might not go to that extra measure because you actually think that that's your bank on the phone with you, and it's not. It's them. It's the criminals. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's got me in a rut right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, man, here I am. Like, again, I'm no cop. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not. I've been a criminal before. I've been in their shoes. You know what I'm saying? And it's different when you're on the other side of the tracks and you're like, you see how they take advantage of people. I seen a video this woman got took for like, oh man, it was 6 figures. They took her. You know what I'm saying? They took her for a ride. And it was like, you know, like I said, in some situations where these people can be caught, the money will be reinstated. But a lot of these situations, they're not even getting caught. They're not even getting caught, to where it just lets you know that this nation is behind when it comes to that. And that is a huge threat to the U.S. right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that goes along the line of consumerism a lot too, right? Because, again, if you're always consuming something and, you know, you look at the internet for the great things that it could be, and then it's getting turned, like, people can actually potentially rob you without being there in the same place with you. And that's depressing. So, yo, look, I might have tips and tricks later on and talk about stuff like that. That's only if y'all are interested, though. Take whatever y'all can take out of what I just said in closing. You know what I mean? I know this is kind of like a little all over the place and stuff, but I'm pretty sure y'all mess with me like that. Y'all get where I'm going with this. Y'all absorb something from it. So look, there's another video coming after this about some tips and tricks how you can protect your children too, because I don't know if it's fake news or whatever that's circulating around. Yeah, I talked about it in secret houses. Like, I don't really be talking about the meat and potato stuff like that to the fullest publicly no more. Well, not that I really did, but sometimes I go in. But if y'all heard my podcast, y'all be like, nah, you be going in. But this last podcast, I was talking about some stuff when it comes to children and stuff like that. So I just felt like, you know what? Let me put this information out there as well. Because, again, I don't know if this is fake news or not. But it's like, when I do go online to do my browsing and check up on my people, I be eavesdropping sometimes. But, yo, for real. Like, I'm seeing these Amber Alerts and all of these children, all of these kids being missing and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, hold up. You can't ever be too sure, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it could be speculation. Sometimes people are doing this just to arouse fear and stuff. Like, I do think fake news is a real thing. But just in case, you know what I'm saying? There's some things that you could look at astrologically to think about before bringing children into this world. And some things that you could look at that has already occurred for the children that are already here. You know what I'm saying? So look for that to come up next. All right, y'all, I'm out.